Reg Presley here with us today, and you are the creator of Wild Thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, not the creator, no. We did Wild Thing first. I didn't actually write Wild Thing.
Oh, okay.
With A Girl Like You, Can't Control Myself, Love Is All Around, and others, yeah. But I wish I had written Wild Thing. Yeah.
Okay. And so you got interested in crop circles in the 90s, I assume?
1990, August the 7th.
What made you become interested in the subject?
I saw in the Sunday paper, and here we are, Sunday. I saw in the Sunday paper the crop formation, and Sunday's a great day, you know, if the weather's good and you go for a drive, and it was somewhere to actually go to, you know. And my wife and I just came out to this area, actually, and I had to find it, you know. And I found it eventually because of the people, you know. I saw people in the field, and from the top of the hill, I looked down on it, and I couldn't believe, you know, the sort of symmetry of it, you know. It was great. So I walked in, not thinking anything really, you know, and walked in there, and I saw Busty Taylor, who is a crop enthusiast, and I said, you know, who did this? He said, you tell me, you know. So it led to about an hour or two, excuse me, led to about an hour or two of nattering to him, and I thought there's more to this than meets the eye, because I've been able for years to dowse with dowsing rods to find water and things, and I saw a guy behind me who had the vining rods out of his pocket, and I said, can I borrow those, you know? So I borrowed them, and I walked across, and at half the radius, they crossed. And when I got to the centre, they opened. When I walked across to half the radius again, they crossed. And when I got to the outside, they opened. I turned round, and I thought, because it was a gusty day, although it was a beautiful day, it was a gusty day, and I thought it might affect the rods, and it didn't. I walked back across, and the same thing happened. And I thought, well, if somebody just did this, why are they reacting to it? So that got me, and I thought there's something more to this perhaps than meets the eye. And then I just started getting involved with everything, you know, and found out there wasn't just one or two, there's something like about 200 a year that turn up. And that's quite a few, you know. Yeah. But today I would say that 95%, maybe even more, are man-made. But that is not to say that they're, you know, a hoax. And the reason I say that is because there was a field south of Stonehenge, just south. And yeah, just south of Stonehenge. And two guys that were making them said that they were making them, Doug and Dave, were there, and they brought the media to the field and said, look, we did this, and we're going to prove it to you, because there was half a circle one side and half a circle the other side, done in like the letter D. Mm-hmm. And they said, look, we signed it even, Doug and Dave, D, right? What they didn't know is that we were filming above, around it, and right down in the corner of the field that had been probably done a month earlier, the corn was laid down, and just rising up, almost, you couldn't almost notice it, but the corn had risen up, and it was the exact replica of what they had done, and they knew nothing about it. So you've got to say that there's a little more to this than really meets the eye, and that's held me in there. I would love to know. Whether I will live long enough to find out is another matter, but there are some strange things. Even birds. I got a guy to speak who really didn't want to speak to camera, and I got this guy to finally tell us what happened. He mends combined harvesters, and he said, believe it or not, they don't break down in the farmyard, they break down out in the field, and you don't know which field they're in, so they give you a grid reference. He said, and I'm following the grid reference. He said, and I turn up at a field, there's a huge crop circle, just a plain circle. And he said, just to make conversation to the farmer when he got there, he said, I see you've got one of those hoaxes on your land. And the farmer said to him, you think they're hoaxes? And he said, don't you? He said, what time do you finish, the farmer? He said, normally about 5:30. He said, stick around till 6 and keep looking up. And it was a valley like this. And so he was intrigued. And so he said, quarter to 6, he said, I finished that night eventually. He said, and I sat down and undid my flask, poured the coffee. He said, and I'm sat there just looking and looking up, like the farmer said. He said, and I saw a flock of geese coming from a distance. He said, and the geese flying over the formation. And if you're a countryman, you know that geese eat somewhere and roost, go to sleep somewhere else, you know? And they fly in a dead straight line to do that. And he said, I'm watching them, sipping my coffee. He said, when they got to the outside of the circle, it was as though they hit a brick wall, burst apart, went round, formed up in the V the other side and carried on. Oh, and he said, you know, and I thought to myself, whoa, you know, there is something going on here. So we started getting the magnetometers at work. And if you put them on the ground, you get a reading of 1 degree shift. If the corn's turning, you get a 1 degree. If you lift it 2 foot off the ground, you get a 2-point movement. Right up to 6 foot. You can't hold your arm up any higher than that, as it were. So we know that something's happening in the magnetic field inside the crop formation, but not outside the crop formation. So there's something going on here, you know. We have, you know, the experience of those geese flying round one. So there's a magnetic field disturbance of some description over at least the simple ones. Then you start going back through history and to the Aborigines of the world, you know, and especially in Australia, they put circles. Yeah. If they want to let somebody else know if there's water ahead. If there's a circle or a white circle, that's water. And if there's more circles, it means there's more water there, right? It's like throwing a pebble into the water and seeing the ripples. If there's a lot of ripples, there's a lot of water. That's how they spoke to one another, through geometry. So here we were in the early days having rings within rings, and we're thinking, is there a water connection with this? You know, why would there be water? 3.5 million gallons of water went missing out of a lake in Andover with a crop formation by the side of it. 3.5 million gallons. It left 6 or 7 inches in the pond, just enough to keep a fish farm alive 1 mile down the road, right? And this was happening around the world as well. It happened in Japan, in Bangladesh.
Oh, there were crop circles in Japan? I've never heard.
In the rice paddy fields, you know?
Yesterday we were talking about this.
Yeah, it's incredible. So here you have, you know, on water, and I'm thinking, water, what could it be a connection with water, you know? And then wet. It's like to thump me in the chin and say, wake up, you know, wet. Go and do Love Is All Around, you know. And it was phenomenal. 15 weeks at #1. I thought, it's got to be something to do with water. So then if you bring the UFO situation into this at all, people say that this planet here is where they bounce off to go hyperspace, to go time travel, whatever. They say this is, you know, you take that aboard and you listen to it. You don't necessarily believe it, but it enters your head. And then you think to yourself, do they fill up here with whatever they use? Hydrogen, you know, there's plenty of hydrogen, and, you know, do they fill up here? Do they use water, and does it have to be clean water? Are they getting it out of the lakes? And these lakes are near the springs. Are they getting the best water they can for the hyper jump? Is it a filling station? For God's sake, could it be? Just take that on board for a minute and you say, wow, you know, if they can hyper space and they do it from here, if they take too much water and there's another one following, they got to tell them how much they've used. It's like, is the pump still full? You know, there's all those things to maybe have to consider. You know, so they leave these diagrams to let them know how much water they've taken. You know, there's it goes on if you let it. But it's interesting, you know, to think where it could all be leading, because we are just about to use hydrogen. Well, the government are. Let's put it that way. They won't let us use it for our cars, purely because there's not enough money in it. And we have to use the oil until it's running out, you know. But Bush did say in his congressional talk to the Congress or whatever, and I believe it was this year earlier on, he said, I hope that a child born today will be driving a hydrogen car in 16 years' time.
Well,
so, you know, maybe they've got it in mind, but I think that was just for the people who just want, you know, to be told that they're not going to use oil forever and ever and ever, I believe. Because they could have been using that. He should have said this. I'm sorry, but we could have been doing hydrogen cars for the last 50 years, but we wouldn't make enough money out of it. But they're not honest, are they?
No. So you think one of so I think those markings have a special meaning, but not necessarily for us, but maybe among those who do them.
It's just one train of thought. You can go off on another and another. It depends what you've taken on board, you know, and how you use that. It's like the way we learn, the way we teach ourselves anything. It depends what you hear. Your wife might be watching TV and she hears something really important. You don't. And she doesn't tell you, so you don't know. And this is life. There's important things that you're catching. And if you can find them all and take them on board, you know the answers. You know, but nobody, it's like most of the people will think, oh, well, yeah, that's somewhere else, you know, yeah. And get on watching Coronation Street or EastEnders or some, you know, mundane sort of program. But that's their life. That's okay, that's fine. It's just that some of us want to know what's going down, and unless we start thinking about it from all aspects, we aren't going to know.
Yeah. So you got interested in the whole phenomena in the early 90s, and then you kept watching how it develops. So what are your thoughts on the development, starting maybe even further back? I mean, we know it started in the late 70s.
That's what we know about, you know, that comes off the press and everything. That we know that happened about 1974, 75.
I think, yeah, around that time.
But did you also know that down West Country, even farther down West Country, Somerset and Cornwall, in the year 1000, they used to do dance steps to what they saw, the crop formations in the fields. So here we go, you know, we've got a team of dancers like you have probably in Austria that go, we have the same here. They're called Morris dancers, and their steps are funny. And they say that in the year 1000, people would go out, and when they saw a formation, they would see the way the corn was twisted, and that was the way they would dance.
So there are...
I wasn't there, I don't know, but it's in history somewhere.
So the phenomena goes back thousands of years maybe, or has been with us all the time.
What I would have said is strange. There wasn't many, I think. But there again, during the war, you would have thought that the Spitfires and that are coming back, you know, from am I allowed to say shit?
Yes.
That took place. You would have thought that some of them would have picked up these formations if they'd have been happening throughout the war, and thought there were fifth columnists, you know, at work, you know, giving messages and what have you. You would have thought that, so you would have heard about it. Probably not during the war, but afterwards you would have heard. There was none of that. So they must have been simple circles then. I think some of the bigger formations, the fancier ones, are from people's minds. I try an experiment when you get home or whenever, and you can tell the people this. Ask for something. Not expensive, you know, not worth anything, but ask for something for yourself to appear, for you, whenever you want. Like if you said, right, I want to see, like I did, a red feather. I want it today, in the next 24 hours, you know, up until midnight. I want to see a red feather. You will see a red feather. Now, red feathers only come from parrots and things like that, so you're not going to see a pigeon feather or something, you know. Ask for something really off the line. My business partner was out in northern Italy, Damanhur. You've heard about Damanhur?
Yeah. I did a show on that subject once.
Yeah, and they were on about it, and she mentally asked for a piece of square orange silk. Just that. And she actually found this the day she came away. I mean, she didn't say what she wanted, but the day it was in one of the little drawers by the side of her bed. She broke her arm over there, actually slipped in the shower and smashed her arm and cut her tour, as it were, of the place short. But, so I think it's happening also with crop circles. Mm-hmm. When you're maybe flying over and you see a lovely big field and you say, oh, I've got this vision in my mind. I would love to see one there. Because that's happened several times when you fly over and go, wow, it is there. Yeah. You know.
There have also been reports of people knowing that a certain formation, a certain shape, they draw the shape beforehand and then this shape appears.
Right. It is weird, and it could be a collective, you know, a collective thought process. Mm-hmm. It could be anything, you see, until we get scientists with enough guts to get on board and help. We're not going to really know. We're going to get all the information in, but you must think of this too. I always believe that when a crop goes down early, if it's been affected by something we don't know, right, and it comes back up during the year and it gets ripe, it gets harvested and goes into the food chain. You would think that somebody would be being interested, wouldn't you? I mean, helicopters fly around this area.
Loads of them, yeah.
Yeah, every day. And I have a photograph of an object over near Silbury Hill, carved like into the ground, and it's of a red Indian, you know. And one of the old ancient Indians came over here because he was looking. Yeah, I know, helicopters. Oh. But he was looking for the place of the last ceremonial dance. Now, you'd have thought being...
So, let's just repeat, an Indian.
A red Indian, native Indian, Native American. I came over here, I met him. Lovely little guy. He's short, but he's big in stature. You know what I mean? He's short in stature, but great guy. And he came over here looking for the place of the last ceremonial dance. Now you think to yourself, why is he looking in a country that until Christopher Columbus went to, we didn't even know existed? Why is he looking for the place over here of the last ceremonial dance? And I meant to bring it, but I have a postcard that was taken by the government that's filtered its way through, probably a pilot thing, and oh look, at a time of year when I believe they'd had a sprinkling of snow, and some of it had gone, but it made the motif, as it were, in the field come out. It was all hillocks and little indentations, and it filled up to make this diagram of a red Indian sat, you know, they do like this with feathers stuck out the back of his head. Now that guy came over here knowing. The strange thing is, and this is the strange thing, he looked at Colin's computer, and he was trying to look for the shape he had to find, right, this corn circle, as it were, and he wondered if he'd let him look and see, because that was the place of the last ceremonial dance. And he kept on saying, no, that's not it, no, went through 4,000 of these one day. And he was going. He put his key in the car. I had to do an interview, and I'm thinking, where can I take this guy? I've been photographed by every crop circle I know. I need another crop circle, you know. And I'm driving along the road like that, and I look. It'd been raining all night, storm. And I looked across, and I saw this one that they called the scorpion.
Okay. Yeah,
right? Yeah. And I can't wait to get back. And I phone Colin, and I say,
Colin Andrews.
Yeah. And I said, you wouldn't believe what I've just seen out in the fields. It's like a scorpion. It's like that. And he went, my God. And it was a bit too late to catch the guy there, but he did. About 2 hours went by, and he got him again. And he said, I think I've got the one you're looking for. And this Indian that's in the snow, the shape, and made it, visible, is looking straight across at Silbury Hill and over to where that scorpion came that night. There's no ifs, there's no buts. It was meant to be taken, it's like as though we're all laid out here, everything that we do is going to come to fruition of some description. And I believe the ancients have got something to do with that, because they keep on about this 2012, 21st of December 2012. And I think that is not the end of the world, but it's the end of the way we used to live. And I think from that point on, we're going to live the proper way. And things have got to happen before we can live the proper way. Because I believe it'll be without money. I really do. And the only way that can happen is something like Twin Towers happening again in a strategic place of the street. It's laid out, I believe, that these things are going to happen. And the stock markets will crash. And the only way back is to say, well, look, I'll do that for you. You give me a chicken. It's not bartering, but I believe that one day we'll be able to go around the supermarket and everybody will be doing their jobs, but you won't get paid, but everything will be free. Mm-hmm. That is way off, but...
Well, 8 years.
Yeah, I know. It's not long if things happen correctly. Mm-hmm. But remember I said that. So,
how do you think that crop circles tie in? And 2012 is also something on our show regularly, so I'm kind of interested in this. How do you think that crop circles tie in with this?
If there are such things as UFOs, which I believe there are because I've seen them, the government tell you they don't exist. We did a watch up here somewhere. It was just before I got it, but Colin was telling me about it. They put infrared and everything. The army was there and everybody was there, and all of a sudden they saw in the field movement, right? And it came out on the infrared, and everybody was there. The papers, the television, from all over the world, our army was all present like that. And a big thing went out across the network straight away. Whoa, something's happening in the field, blah, 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 there's things moving, whoa, is it aliens? Yeah, like that. They tried to do that, and they got thrown a D notice by the government. A D notice means they can't even put it out to the world, even if they wanted to. It is not allowed. The government has told you not to do it. Now, what is the government doing something like that when they don't believe?
On which basis can they say?
Do it on any mortal thing you like. They could just say no. As soon as they knew it was 4 hoaxers going out to make them, oh yeah, let the press out, let it know, So if something was to happen, even if it happened outside the Houses of Parliament, I guarantee you they'd have something in the back of their mind to tell all the people, no, it's just something we've got, this new thing that we've developed. They would not let you know, So you've got these things, are they working with the government? Do the governments of the world know that something? There's some governments that are up front. Mexican government is up front.
Yeah. Portugal, I think, also had a...
Belgium?
Yeah, Belgium.
Portugal, yeah. They're coming forward, but it's whether they're going to come forward fast enough or whether they're doing it gently, because they all dwell back to 1939 with War of the Worlds, when they put out a program as though it was real and as though it was happening in America. Martians were coming down the streets in these machines, zapping everything, right? Now, wouldn't you be nervous if all of a sudden you woke up one morning like that and turned on the news or a program like that and this is the news, and Martians were coming down the street with annihilating everybody? Even if it was Iraqis, you would, wouldn't you? Americans always think people are panic, but if they're not, if they're benign, or malign, whatever one is, if they're not shooting everybody, Why not let them come down the street? Why not say hello? What's all the panic about? You know, it's the way they did it, and they think people will do that again. I believe they won't. I believe they're ready for it. We were doing a watch. There was about 5 people, and we were up on Knapp Hill, just here. It's only about 2 miles up the road. And it was getting late. It had started with a drizzly day, very fine rain. But by 12:20, it was full-blown rain. And we were thinking about going if nothing happened. And nothing had until that point. There was a camera team sat in a Range Rover. And they said, we're going to go and sit in the Range Rover to keep the equipment and everything dry. And I said, yeah, if anything happens, I'll flash with my flash bulb, you know, flash torch. Anyway, we 12, an object came through. It was elliptical. If you hold your arm out like this, it was elliptical when it came through. I worked it out roughly about half the size of a jumbo jet coming through, you know, the valley. It was low cloud cover because of the rain. There was somebody else up on the hill which was actually in the mist of the underside of the cloud, as it were. And we were able to work out, triangulate it to about 9 miles away. And this thing must have been huge to be that kind of size at arm's length, you know, at 9 miles away. Orange, it went straight through, no noise whatsoever. I turned and flashed over my shoulder to the camera crew, who looked but didn't have the cameras ready. And when I turned back, another one went through. They all saw it. They knew it had happened, but they didn't film it. I did a little bit to camera about it, and they all agreed, yes, he did see what he saw and whatever. And they went. And then at 1:20, it was an hour, because we were always watching when things happen. We want to know the time of happening. And 1:20, an hour later, from the cloud was like a turquoise colour circle, about twice the size of the moon. And I figured it was like the water in the cloud where it looked turquoise, you know, because from that came this white light, and it came towards us, you know, and if you go like this to the camera, it came like this. And about a year later, I was telling somebody, and I realised, I thought, that's impossible. I've seen slow light. That is not possible. Light, you either see it or you don't see it, you know. And this was lighting up the hills, you know. So I thought, this is crazy. In the village, an answering service came on in somebody's house at exactly 20 past. All the clocks stopped at 1:20. So, you know, something definitely happened. This area here is on 3 grids. It's right the corner of 3 grids that supply all their electricity, and none of them had a fault. Because we phoned up and to find out if there was a change, and everything's, you know, done with a computer now. No, there was no faults last night, you know. So, you know, you go on and on, you know. There is something out there. There's something here. It's happening. If you want to ignore it, you can. You can do like the ostrich does and bury his head in the sand. But I'm, for one, in the rest of what I've got left of my life, want to know the answers. So,
now back to the today. What do you think about this year's crop circle season? Have you been out to formations? And
I've only been to one up the top there, but they're out and about. The one that came in first over Portsmouth, around there. That they say that was a half decent one, but the best always happen near the end. The big ones, the ones you remember that right now. I mean, the corn, they're getting the harvesters ready now because the corn is pretty close to being cut, if not started anywhere. I don't know. I have got a life that goes alongside of this, and it's a very complex life, and I have to be more so involved. So I'm not putting the 100% in that I used to, but I've got to a point where I consider that even if somebody, you know, films it and gets me the vision of the crop circles, which I do every year, that's fine. If somebody knows something really, you know, special about something, yes, I will go. But it's like year after year after year. You need help from scientists. We're not going to get that because crop circles aren't a science, and until they are a science, you can't do it. I remember a story, somebody saying that the scientists were having a meeting and the hall was full, and one of the latecomers was coming into the hall. He got very close to the door, looked up and saw a UFO, and he went in and he said to all the scientists, "Come outside, I can see a UFO." And not one of them would go out there because it wasn't a science.
Now,
And they're tunnel vision and brain dead. A lot of.
so what do you think, where is this whole phenomenon is going to take us? And I mean,
I think-
what's the development that we can expect?
Yeah, I think it's going to take us to 2012. I think the Mayans and the things that were said, the last prophecy is right. I don't think the world's going to end. I think the world is going to change. And unbeknown to the government, ordinary people are changing their views. They're changing their views about life. They're changing their views about government, and a lot of them are living for today only. Hence, you've got everybody going on their credit cards up and over, like everybody in England, I think, owns about £16,000. You know, they're living for today. They don't take heed on what governments say. And the government has got a problem very, very soon, because when they ask the people to do something, I think the people will begin to ignore them. And that is the start of the change. It happened, I think, you know, Blair thinks he's going to win the next election. The Tories think they're going to win. The Liberals think they're going to win. And I've got a feeling that somebody might say, no, let's vote for the Raving Lunatic Party, you know, or the Greenpeace or something like that, just to give them a shock. And if they don't react to that shock fast enough, then they're going to lose out, because it almost happened in France last year, wasn't it, when they had a vote and everybody voted for the Nazi Party or something, just to shock them, because they're not getting it. They're not. People today are on the internet, and people in government haven't got time to be on the internet because they're too busy fiddling, whereas other people that haven't got jobs and that have still got computers and they can look, and people are talking and living and not getting more knowledge than the government can actually get. The government, yes, can use them when they want it, when they want to get that information, but they haven't got the time. They're too busy fiddling us, really. You know, so I think they've got to either wake up or the change begins to start. We've got 8 years to 2012. 21st of December, and I think the ancients are going to be right. Everything changes. The way we live will change from then on.
Okay. Well, let's see where it's going to take us.
Yeah, we'll see where it takes us. I hope I'm there to see it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Take care, and yeah, all you out there, just be aware.